Welcome back. Now, ArcelorMittal South Africa has reported a wider annual loss as the company and the steel industry face their greatest challenge since the financial crisis of 2008 and 9. All the while, Amsa is in talks with the state on the future of the longs business, and an announcement is expected later in February. I caught up with Amsa CEO Cobus Verster to unpack the challenges that have led to the decision in greater detail.
I think sort of the expectations of the stimulus in China towards Q4 last year, it was a small uptick but very short-lived. Actually, prices came down further and is at lower levels pre the stimulus. And to be honest, I think the stimulus really impact sort of the equity markets, not the real fundamental economy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, just also from a domestic point of view, because I do know that the headwinds have been aggravated by low growth, subdued demand, and also fighting the imports from China, the flurry of imports there. And of course, many countries have implemented policies to protect the local steel market. How far have South Africa's policies actually gone to protect the local steel industry?
I think you touch on the right, the fundamental problem is demand.
Yeah.
The steel demand today is about 20% lower than 10 years back, so we have no growth. From a policy perspective, I think we are slower and we're much lower levels.
Yes.
I mean, the US and others are between 25% and 46% import duties. So, and they react quickly. And to the extent that you are the lower barrier, you're impacted much more by the oversupply and the exports from places like China.
Yes.
And then we also have people are able to circumvent the duties, and that continues to be a problem.
And I mean, I know that you have bemoaned very, very high unaffordable energy and logistics costs, considering the fact that the steel industry is quite a strategic one for South Africa's economy. Is this something that can actually be resolved by government? Because obviously everybody is dealing with the high energy and rail costs. But just looking at how important the steel industry is there any maneuvering that the government can make here? Are there any conversations that you're having on that front?
We have conversations. We also apply for special tariffs. Some industries get special treatment. And it does not only impact steel. I mean, if you look at your ferroalloys, ferromanganese, all those industries that's high energy intensive are actually moving abroad. They cannot sustain this. And if you look at the tariff differentials between us and China on a sector by sector basis, it becomes massive.
Yeah. And I mean, just on that then, because you can't really get away from it at this point, does that then kind of lift up your decarbonization efforts, up your priority list?
It does, but that's medium longer term solutions.
Yeah.
If you're in an environment where you don't have any growth, your tariffs are expensive, you actually can't make money to invest in decarbonization. So in periods where your sector or other sectors are under pressure, then government need to intervene quickly to protect these sectors, to allow them time and space to actually do the decarbonization. And that's where and if you have carbon tax and these type of things, those should be reinvested into the industry and not just go into general taxation.
Yeah, and just sticking to cost before we actually move on to the long steel business, I know that in the first 6 months of the financial year, you were hit by blast furnace outages, and of course you had to shoulder quite significant costs there. Is there still an impact of that showing in the second half of the financial year?
Yeah, the second half was impacted by that from a pure dispatches and sales perspective. So we had two big events on the blast furnaces. Both of them has been resolved, but subsequent to that, we have did a major planned repair in blast furnace C. That cost us also a lot of money, but also it puts the furnace in operating conditions for the next 5 years.
Okay, let's move on to the long steel business. I also do understand that you have delayed that closure from the end of January to maybe the end of February or mid-February. On that, has the support that you have gotten, I know that the IDC has also been one of your supporters, been significant in any way?
I think there's discussions on significant options longer term.
Yeah.
There's seriousness from government, there's seriousness from the IDC. These are complicated matters and they need to react quite quickly because we are clear that we are not funding any further losses. And to the extent that we're able to extend for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, that's with understanding of the right support to enable us to do that.
And on that, I mean, you've said that you're not willing to shoulder any more losses or risk pertaining to the longs business. And I mean, this is purely a financial issue. There's this idea of a 1 billion rand bailout that is floating around. Of course, there having been no confirmation or clear discussions with ArcelorMittal. But also I do know that, for example, a number of your customers, the automotive industry, has said that they would like at least a delay of 1 year. If this 1 billion rand came through, would that be enough time to support the industries that are your customers?
1 billion is not adequate to support long business for a year.
Yeah.
Longs made 1.1 billion loss last year, of which all of that was in the second half. So when you talk automotive, they take about 70,000 tons of material per year. And now for that you have to produce almost 500,000 tons.
Yeah.
So it does not make sense. And I mean, we've extended a bit. We've tried to do some pre-ordering and rolling for them.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. They have to come up with the solutions.
Yeah. And at this point, is it a case of you not trying to take any more financial weight if it does not come with the structural issues that are actually crucial for the turnaround of the steel industry?
Well, one thing is we don't want to, but we can't do it.
Yes.
It's financially not doable for the organization.
Yeah.
So we will not place the rest of our business at risk for that.
That was Cobus Verster, CEO for ArcelorMittal South Africa.